If you're just joining us, welcome. My name is Martins, and Tolu has been telling us a little about his thesis. Unfortunately, we couldn't present the first paper due to some technical issues as well as the unavailability of the first author in the first presentation. But it's 1:30 right now, so we're going to the second presentation, and Tolu is here to present his paper titled Digital Archiving by Nigerian and Foreign Authors in Low Resource Context, a content analysis of publications on natural language processing in Nigerian languages. So Tolu, you have the floor. We have 30 minutes, and within those 30 minutes, you're going to give us at least 5 minutes for questions. You have the floor.
I had to share my screen, but that has been disabled.
Okay, I'm working on it right now.
Okay. Yeah, before that, I have to apologize up front. My son is sleeping. I'm a full-time dad. My son is sleeping. He might wake up anytime and join us during the presentation.
Okay, I think you can share your screen now.
Okay.
Have you seen the option? Okay, great.
Yeah. Okay, I hope you can all see my screen, the PowerPoint. Okay. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Toluwaseun Ashubiaro. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Western Ontario, London, Canada. At the same time, I'm a librarian too at the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. Today, I'll be talking about how Nigerians and foreign authors, well, a comparison of how Nigerians and foreign authors share resources on digital repositories. And basically, the methodology is content analysis. Well, I actually did a bit of bibliometrics as well, though the data sample is small, but yeah, I would like to actually present my results to this audience. It was an ongoing research. Well, it's been concluded now. So this is part of a bigger research. Yeah, so the introduction is going to be brief. The methodology will be brief. I will discuss the results and briefly conclude. Yeah, Nigeria is the most populous Black nation in the world with over 200 million population. There are over 400 languages that are spoken in Nigeria. But the most popular languages are Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, and Ijaw. And these four languages are spoken by over 78% of the Nigeria's population. Now, there is no national policy to support the development of local languages. In fact, religious organizations, especially the Christian organizations like the Nigerian Bible Society, they do more on developing Nigerian languages than the Nigerian government. The situation in Nigeria can be contrasted with what is going on in South Africa, where there is a national policy on language. 10 of the South African languages are actually national languages, and they have a framework for developing these languages. They have human language technology framework for developing their languages, for developing resources for the languages, for providing resources in the languages. In fact, in their libraries, there are books in these languages. Unlike Nigeria, where there is no national policy to support development of local languages, there is no ad hoc research funding source for the researchers who want to work on these languages. Generally, African languages are resource scarce languages. They don't have electronic corpus, unlike English languages that have that. every day, probably billions of text is generated in English online, automatically generated. This is unlike these African languages, well, including Nigerian languages. There are no, in fact, there are no electronic keyboards for most of these adult keyboards for most of these languages. You know, the text, their texts are different from the English language text. Some of them use diacritics. So the conventional keyboards don't really work for them. Now, and because of the resource scarcity, open scholarship gives the opportunity for the development of these languages, for data sharing, for resource sharing, for knowledge sharing. You know, when I write a paper on natural language processing and I drop it on the repository, you know, researchers in Nigeria who don't have access to all these to the big publishers repository can actually pick it up online because it's free. So this is one of the opportunities open scholarship gives researchers in this area. And that's the motivation for this work. I actually want to see how Nigerian authors in this research area, this is a resource scarce research area. I want to see how Nigerian authors have harnessed the open scholarship model of scholarly communication. Now, the methodology. Google was searched, Web of Science was searched, Scopus was searched for relevant articles on the natural language processing of the top 10 Nigerian languages. The retrieved articles were actually screened. Articles that were not relevant were removed. And the relevant articles were content analyzed. So my interest was the data sharing statement. There was also bibliometric analysis where author's country of affiliation was extracted and processed. I also searched Google to ascertain the open access status of the retrieved articles. So in two ways, the gold open access and the green open access status of the articles. So what I mean by gold open access and green open access is this. So for green open access status, I looked for those articles on ResearchGate. If their full text were available on ResearchGate, on academia.edu, and other free repositories. And for gold open access, I also searched if those articles were published as open access by the publishers. So the result. 114 articles were relevant, and according to distribution by country of author. Now, what I did was I had 3 categories in this distribution. I categorized articles in which all the authors are from Nigeria I mixed it up. All the authors are affiliated with institution from Nigeria as, yeah, that's correct. I'm correct. Yeah. All authors are affiliated with institution from outside Nigeria as foreign authorship, and papers where all authors are affiliated with institutions in Nigeria as Nigerian authorship, and papers in which authors are from Nigeria and some are from outside Nigeria as mixed. So what I found out was it appears there is more interest outside Nigeria than in Nigeria on the languages. So 44.74% of the authors were all located outside Nigeria. That means there was foreign authorship. Foreign authorship accounted for about 45%, while Nigerian authorship accounted for about 41%. So for the open access, for the gold open access, 56% of the articles were published in open access, and 65% of the articles were deposited on repositories. And foreign authors, 80% of the foreign authorship papers actually deposited their papers on repositories, while Nigerian authorship papers, about 55% of the Nigerian authorship papers deposited their papers on repositories. Well, over 50% for both categories, but foreign authorship papers actually deposited more of their papers on repositories than Nigerian authors. Now, for research data, slightly below 20% of the foreign authorship papers deposited their papers on, deposited their research data on repositories like GitHub, but none of the papers that were written by Nigerian authors alone deposited their research data. Same goes for the computer codes. About 10% foreign authorship deposited their codes, their computer codes. Well, none of the Nigerian authorship papers did. Well, I don't want to repeat the results again, but my observation is for open access, yeah, there was an indication that the Nigerian authors, deposited their papers, but for research data and computer codes, well, none of them did. So I want to suggest librarians have to sensitize the academic community about open scholarship and advantages of open scholarship. There's a need to find out why Nigerian authors did not deposit their computer codes. There are myriad reasons why they did not. One of the possibilities is awareness. Probably they are not aware. Even if the university or their universities do not have the infrastructure, there are free repositories online that provide, so many of them provide the infrastructure free of charge. And because this is a low resource research area, I think using open access, I mean open scholarship, adopting the open scholarship mode of scholarly communication is an advantage that these researchers should consider. Yeah, so the limitation of the study, the data set is very small. It's not representative. NLP, natural language processing, is just a small area of computer science. It's a small area of knowledge from Nigeria. So this cannot be generalized. However, this is a research that calls for further research, finding out how it is in other disciplines. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Tolu. That was a wonderful presentation. I learned one or two things over there, and I must say kudos for your research. So we have like 15 minutes for questions. You could use your microphone, or if you prefer to use the chat, that's equally welcome. So questions for Tolu. Sarah, please go ahead.
I guess I have some questions about the language distribution of the papers that you found. Were there, you looked at the 10 most spoken languages. Was it mostly a few of them, or how was that distributed? My other question was, when it was foreign authors who were looking at these language resources, was it foreign to Nigeria, but still speakers of those languages, like coming from nearby countries where they also use like Yoruba and Igbo, etc., or were they more like outside of the like local context? Sorry, that's a lot of questions.
So can I start from the second question about the authors? So what I did was, for each paper, I looked at the country of affiliation of the authors. So if, for instance, there is a paper, there are 3 authors and they are all affiliated to Canada, Germany, Australia, so that paper will be categorized as foreign authorship paper. So there is a possibility. So I did not look into the languages the authors speak. So for instance, my paper would have been classified most likely classified as a foreign authorship paper if University of Ibadan is not actually indexed as my country or my university of affiliation. So there are possibilities these authors are Nigerians. Yeah, so in fact, most of the authors are Nigerians, but they are based abroad. You know, they live outside Nigeria. Some are not Nigerians. So I did not look at the languages the authors speak. If I actually want to do that, then I had to do questionnaire, ask them questions. Yeah, but I did not do that. Yeah. The first question about the distribution of the languages. Yeah, so the top 10 languages, they are the most popular languages. And on the first slide, well, the introduction, I mentioned it that the top 4 languages are spoken by 78% of the population. And Nigeria right now is over 200 million. The population of Nigeria is over 200 million, and 75% of 200 million is, I think, more than like 150 million. So the top 10 must have been spoken by more than 150 million people. Yeah, I don't have the details here in the paper because it's a short paper, you know, because of space I had to remove some of the things that might take space. Yeah, but there is a bigger paper that I've submitted to Canadian Journal of Information Library Science. Is that correct? Canadian Journal of Information and Library Science, yes, CJOS. So it's under peer review right now. I have details of the languages there, and the methodology is more detailed in the paper. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Tolu. Sarah, do you have more questions, or that will be all?
I always have questions.
Oh, by the way, thank you for that question.
All right. So I have my own question here, Tolu, and I think I have couple of, well, just to let me condense them into 2. So number 1, you were talking about the observation that foreign authors have more representation than local authors, both in the number of papers as well as what they have made available in open access or repositories. the first question is, would you think, or don't you think this is an indexing problem, which is part of the larger problem of African authors being underrepresented in global platforms like Scopus or other major repositories? Do you think that's a reflection of the larger problem? And the second question is, there is this, I don't know if it's widespread, but I'm aware of it, like data articles or your, what do you call it? Your academic exploits, let me put it that way, just beyond articles. It could be textbooks, it could be whatever exploit that you make. If you put it on open access, then it kind of loses its values because it believes open access is open access because it doesn't have high editorial censorship. Like, it's the barrier of entry is very low. So whatever you put on something with a very low entry barrier, it's probably expected to be of low quality. So most people would rather go to platforms where they think, but they are more prestigious. Let me just summarize it that way. So those two questions, what do you say to them?
Okay, thank you for your question. The first one, I'll start from the first this time. So the first question, I am aware of the limitations of Scopus and Web of Science, and that's why I actually searched Google, and I listed it there. I searched three search engines: Google, Web of Science, and Scopus, and I did that so that Google can complement Web of Science and Scopus. I think that answers the first question.
Yes, it does, partially because I still believe Google is not the magician. It depends on what it's able to lay its hands on, the way it could reach to index. So what if Google doesn't, what if my work is not properly indexed on a particular repository so that Google probably misclassify it or doesn't even reckon with it? What do you think about that?
Well, I did not start my search from repositories. I started from Google, Web of Science, and Scopus. So I created search terms that is representative of the topics in natural language processing in the Nigerian languages. So I created the queries with the names of those top 10 languages. So for Scopus and Web of Science, I created one query. With one query, I did the retrieval. But for Google, because of, Google does not allow specialized or comprehensive search queries, I had to search one concept plus language at a time. So I searched, for instance, if natural language processing, if I choose to search for natural language processes, I did natural language processing plus Yoruba, natural language processing plus Hausa, natural language processing for all the 10, then moved on to the next concept, did it for all the 10, moved on to the next concept. That was what I did for Google. The only thing I searched for that had to do with the repositories was the green open access status of the articles. That was after retrieving the articles. So I wanted to see those of them that are available through green open access, and those of them that were available through gold open access, gold and green open access. So I had to do that through Google. So now at that point, I add the articles, the title of the article. So what I was just doing at that point was the title of the article into Google, look at it, look at the result. Okay, this is available on ResearchKit. Is the full text also available? So I'll look at that. Then, okay, maybe another article is available on Academia Edu. I'll go ahead and check if the full text is also available. Yeah, so for the second question about Can you remind me? Yeah, you've muted yourself.
Sorry about that. I was talking about the prestige, the impression of the prestige of putting your work on open access platforms or databases.
Well, prestige and open access are two different things. They don't mean the same thing.
No, I think the question I'm asking is, there is this notion, no matter how limited its widespread is, or widespread it is, that when you put something on open access, it is something that is of low quality because the entry of barrier is very low. There is that notion. So I'm saying, do you think this notion plays its part in why most people don't like to patronize open access platforms?
Well, I don't know if that's the right word to use. Most people in academia today, I think the drive is towards open access. And the fact that if the barrier is low, then is of low quality, well, that's a school of thought. But I have a school of thought. The best things in life are free.
Except dollars.
That's another open school of thought. So if you think papers that are in open access, because they are in open access, the prestige, well, you use the word, that's why I had to come back to that, but they are two different things. And now, even when people publish in closed access journals, they pay a lot of money to make it open. They call it article publication costs. So funders make that available. So I think in academia, some people, maybe most, will agree with me that open access adds value to academia, because in a way, when your research is funded, it's funded with public fund. And if it is in closed access, then public, those funders, that's the public, will have to pay to actually access the research. Their money was actually used, for executing. So, well, there are arguments about open access. I think, I don't know if we are turning a corner to that side, but I think I should stop.
Okay, so anyone with any more questions? Because I don't want to occupy. Yes, Ben, please.
I've just got one quick one. Because there's the publishing in an open access journal, and then there's the self-archiving. So I'm wondering, did you notice any patterns in the publication in terms of the journals that they were published in? For example, were they, and also related to the place of publication. So if these are studying Nigerian languages, are they being published in Nigerian or African linguistics journals? Or are they being published in American or British journals? And did that make a difference as to whether those journals provided open access, or whether people had to archive them on academia or ResearchGate or on a repository?
Well, my observation was most of the papers were not published in Nigeria. That's my observation, though I did not do an analysis of the places where they were published, but yeah, most of them were not published in Nigeria. Yeah.
Okay,
thank you for that question.
Brian, you have something to say before we go?
No, actually, you stole my question about the perception of value of open access. You mentioned both in the paper and the talk about that maybe open access needs to be, people need to be better educated about, its use and so forth. But yeah, you responded to the question I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you all. We've come to 2 p.m. We've come to the end of the session. Tolu, thank you for that wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
We look forward to more, and thank you for everyone that have asked 1 or 2 questions. We're grateful for making this happen.